All right.
Yeah.
Ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. So, welcome today to Awesome Life Podcast. I'm Karen Stultz, and I'm here today with Janelle Anderson. She is a professional certified coach who helps women. I will edit this.
That's okay.
Who helps successful women entrepreneurs, business owners, and leaders build confidence, feel courageous, and fearless in their professional and personal lives. She specializes in deep self discovery, mindset shifting, and maximizing strength to remove barriers, aka the impostor messages, and whatever stands in the way of their success. She is a coach, speaker, author, and although she told me not to say it, she is an awesome podcast guest and an awesome podcast host. So welcome, Janelle. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Karen. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on your show.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself. Tell us a little about your story. How'd you get here?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's a long story and I know we don't have that much time, but I basically, in my midlife years, realized that I was stuck and kind of feeling very restless and very not fulfilled. I had been a teacher for 20 some years, which was my passion until it wasn't. And then my husband and I started a couple of businesses and they weren't really my passion and they were just draining my energy and taking all of my life. I remember one time feeling like I was on this fast merry-go-round and I was never going to get off. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to go crazy. But all of that ended and I found myself working as an office manager in a school, my mid to late 50s. I think it was about 57 or so. And I remember feeling like I even have pictures of myself on this one day where it was a snow day. Nobody else was there. I was alone and I was just like ready to pull my hair out. I was just like bored and what am I doing? I can't do this until I retire. It'll just drive me crazy kind of a feeling. So I began this search for who am I? What do I really want to do? Who do I want to be when I grow up? What do I want to do with the rest of my life? I am not ready to retire. And even when I reach retirement age, I am not one of those people that will just do hobbies and kind of sit on the porch in my rocking chair. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you really want, but I knew that wasn't me. And so I set out on this journey to discover what is it that really rocks my boat, that really lights me up, that I could do for the rest of my life if I want and make money doing it, and it would be fulfilling and also make a difference in the world. So I began that journey of searching that out and
Fantastic.
yeah, and landed on coaching. And also because I'm a teacher, a lot of what I do is create learning paths for women to discover their best real selves, to discover who they truly are, to discover their passion. So I love to still teach, and I have a lot of that in my business as well. So that was almost 6 years ago. So
Wow.
yeah,
You've come a long way, girl. That's
I have.
awesome. That
I
is
have. I
great.
have.
It's a very similar journey we have had together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
being a teacher, so many people think it has to be in a school. No,
No, it
there are other
doesn't.
ways of being a teacher, and
Yeah.
and coaching is an ideal way of keeping that going. So I know that you have just started to put out a book here.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so what is that all about?
Well, the title is She's Taking Center Stage, How to Be the Star of Your Own Story.
Oh,
Yeah. So it is the best way to describe this. It's a path that I walked. So there's a lot of my story weaved in. As I looked back over the years, I had been journaling for years and years, and I saw this path that I took. And I realized that our purpose in life really does not come into fruition into a full place until we're in our 50s and 60s. I mean, that really is what happens. And I began to look back through those years of journaling and where I saw things that I felt things that I was really called to do, and it wasn't quite there yet. And over again, the messages was, well, I'm preparing you, this is in my prayer journal, I'm preparing you. And so I realized that there's this preparation time in our lives that we maybe in the moment don't realize we're being prepared. But then you step into this season of life where you feel like it's time for me to give back. It's time for me to leave a legacy. It's time for me to really fulfill what I've been preparing for. So the book kind of chronicles that, not kind of, it does. It chronicles that journey. And really in the last couple of years, especially, I feel like, and I tell this to people all the time, I feel like I finally am at home in my own skin. And I feel like I have walked out onto the center stage of my life as me, fully comfortable with who I am, not hiding out behind stage anymore, which is what I used to do. And I can walk out freely. I can just see myself walking out with my arms outstretched, like, here I am. And I don't feel fear about what others think of me at all. And it's not this arrogant boasting thing at all. It's more of a very comfortable, at peace, content, and excited at the same time. And knowing that who I am is more than good enough, and that the gifts I bring to the world are valuable. And for years and years, I did not see the value and worth of who I am. It was covered up with a boatload of shame and imposter messages and me trying to be somebody else. But now I've done this inner work that I help others to do. So now I am free to just be me. I've taken off the mask and the costumes, and I'm walking out on center stage as the star of my own story, which is what I really want everyone else to do.
So do you think, because it's very similar to my story and ages and whatnot, do you think you have to reach this stage in life before you actually find that that courage to be who you really truly are, to accept who you were meant to be? I know that each step along the way is leading us here, but do you think our listeners would have to wait until they're 57, 60, 62?
No, and I've known younger people who have come to this place a lot earlier. And I often think, oh man, if I had only been here when I was in my 20s or 30s, what could I have accomplished? But of course you can't stay there, because all you can do is be where you are now and go forward. But no, I think that the key to it is this inner work of discovery that a lot of people don't do for many reasons. And I do think, though, that when you reach your 50s and 60s, there is this like convergence of everything you have learned that kind of comes together. You're reaching that pinnacle of your career, and you're kind of at that place of, well, now what? How can I really give back? And there is that, but you can know who you are and walk in the fullness of it anytime in your life. And if you're doing it as a younger person, wow, that's just, you have so many more years to be you on that center stage and give the gift of you to the world. Yeah.
That's great. So do you have a couple of tips that people might be able to use, that little exercises or tips or thought processes?
Sure. Well, the process I talk about in my book is called the STAR process, and each letter stands for what I've seen as kind of a phase. The first one is just kind of that waking up. So the S stands for stirring up, standing up, stepping up. It's, I used to always I'm a big snooze button person when it's time to wake up, and always hitting that snooze button. And in life, I was hitting the snooze button. I wasn't waking up to me. And I've seen this over and over again as I've worked with women, my clients, and people that are in my world. There's this place of waking up to who you are. And until you wake up to who you are, you're kind of in this foggy snooze button place of, well, I don't know who I am, so I've got to try to be what other people want me to be or who I think I should be. and it's kind of a foggy place. And I felt like I just kind of woke up one day like, wait a minute, what am I doing? So I feel like in order to begin that process, there's a lot of things you can do. You can begin to sit down and journal, where have you been in your life? This is a very helpful exercise to just go back and sort of do a timeline of significant events in your life where you feel that you were at a crisis and a turning point and you made a certain decision, and think about, why did I make that decision? And
Mm.
what in me propelled me, forward? Or what are the strengths that I have that help me to be successful, or have helped me to feel uh, that what I'm doing is kind of in that flow state, that natural state of, I'm doing this because it feels good and I'm really good at it, and kind of do a self-discovery inventory. And
Almost without any judgment about the way you were, but just looking at it.
yeah, no judgment at all, but just kind of like, what have I done in my life? Where have been those turning points? Who
Mm-hmm.
have I been? Who am I becoming? And
Mm-hmm.
just get it all out, because I think that until you do that, it just stays in your subconscious, sort of like, on your computer where you have files running in the background. You have these
Mm-hmm.
files running in the background, and until you excavate them, then you don't really have that awareness, that awakeness. So it's like a
Mm-hmm.
stirring up. It's a stirring of the soul. Who am I really? And spend some time there. That's a really perfect exercise to get started with.
That's wonderful. And would you mind sharing what the rest of that star
Oh,
track
sure.
was?
Yeah. So after the stirring up and really becoming aware and awake to who you are and what you're doing in the world and where you are right now, then the next thing is the T. And that's a deep dive into the truth. I call it truth telling.
Oh, wow.
This is the inner work of healing and dealing with past things that are still holding you back, or you're still carrying them. And all of us have them. We
Mm-hmm.
all have things that have happened in our lives that we're still carrying around unless we've done this work. So I went through this process of uncovering the lies I was believing. It's sort of
Mm.
like, I had this dream one time, or it was more like a vision in my mind. And when I was praying one time, of a garden, and one part of the garden was beautiful and cultivated and fruitful. And then there was a deeper part that was still covered with weeds and thorns. And I realized that deeper part needed to be cultivated, needed to be weeded. And those were the things way in my past that I had not dealt with, that I had covered over, that I had hidden away because I was ashamed and didn't want to talk about them. But they were holding me back. They did not go away. And so
Mm.
this truth telling process digs those things out, looks at them, and you change really your perspective of them. You realize, that doesn't define who I am. It was something that happened to me. And you change your dialogue in your mind and in your heart about it. And you get to this place where you own your story. For me,
I
owning my story has been huge.
that is huge. And what I always tell my clients is, when you change your perspective, you change your truth,
You do. You do.
and
You truly
it's
do.
wonderful.
You can't
So
change the past, but you can change how you look at it, your relationship to it.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So let's see, STA.
A. So A is, once you've done all that work, now it's time to accept and activate.
Oh, I love it, love it.
Yeah. So the acceptance is like, I remember hearing this question that came up in my heart over and over again once, and it was this question. And I'd love to just ask your audience this, and you too. Do you know how great you are? And when I heard that question, like, I'm curious, what is your reaction when you hear that? Do you know how great you are, Karen?
At the moment, I am awesome, but it took me a long time to get to this point.
I love that you can say, I am awesome.
I am awesome. And anybody who doesn't think so, well, that's their problem. Hopefully they'll
Exactly.
come to it.
Yes. But when I first heard that question, and I was preparing to teach a Bible study, and they kept rolling around in my heart, and I was like, what do you mean how great I am? I'm not great. I'm just an ordinary person just doing little things, and I'm not anybody
You
great.
never admit. And it took me a long time. I mean, honestly, it's only been this past year I can
Yeah.
actually say yes,
Yes.
because just like you, it's no, I'm average. I'm not great. What's great? Yeah.
And where did this realization come for you to be able to say, yeah, I'm pretty darn awesome? Like, what did you have to do to get there?
It was that inner work. It was doing that inner healing.
Yes.
And I'm not one to go deep, 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 because that's a lot of work. And I don't, anyway, I'm not that
Yeah.
kind of person. But you have to allow. It was an allowing that something needed to change,
Mhm.
because where I was not great.
Right.
So let's change it.
Yeah.
And what needs to happen? So I started searching for all of the healing and clearing that I could do. And
Exactly.
yeah.
So you stirred up your soul to say, hey, something needs to change. You
Mm-hmm.
went into the truth telling. Let me go in here and find those places that are hidden away that are still holding me back. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to dig up your whole entire past, just the main
Oh,
things that are holding you back, that are in your way. Deal
yeah.
with them, clear them out. Then you can accept how great you are. Then you come into this place of, let me look at who I am. Let me look at my strengths and my gifts and my talents and the things that make me uniquely me. And so there's, that whole discovery. And out of that comes this acceptance of I am amazing and everybody is amazing because I have these strengths and I have these gifts that are just there, but I need to develop them or continue to develop them, and look how much they can impact other people. And you begin to like wrap your arms around who you are, which then takes away all the comparison and all the competition. It doesn't matter how great other people are. It's wonderful that other people are great
Yeah.
because we're all
There,
great.
we're all here. And there is no competition. If we
No,
could, if we could collaborate, that's amazing. That's awesome. Um, and that's what we're doing. And I love this. But there is no competition, because people out there respond to everyone just a little bit differently. I was speaking to one of my colleagues today, and she said, I'm listening to Tony Robbins. He's putting something out right now. And she said, I've heard this all before, but it clicked today.
wow.
And so when you are ready, the right person shows up.
That's exactly right. And so it does not do you any good to compare yourself to other people. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Oh, well said.
When you can accept your greatness and beauty and amazingness and realize that you have been uniquely designed in every way to be who you are, and that's the gift that you are responsible to develop. I always think about the story in the Bible, the parable of the talents. Are you familiar with that?
I don't know that one. Mm-mm.
Okay, so it's a story of this landowner who put some people in charge of his land and gave them each some talents or coins. He gave one 10, he gave one 5, and he gave another one 1. And he said, use these and develop them, basically. So he goes away, and the one with the 10 talents goes out and invests them and makes more money. And then the one with the 5 does the same. They both double their amount. The one with the 1 goes and buries it because he's afraid. He's afraid that he won't be able to do it. He's afraid that his master will come back and be really angry with him for whatever he does. So he hides it away. And then
Mm.
when the master comes back, he rewards the 2 that developed theirs, and the one that buried it, he's disappointed in him. He said, I gave you this talent, and what did you do? You buried it. And the servant is like, because I was afraid. So to me, that's like such a great parable of our life. Our life, our land that we're put in charge of is our own life, our own circle of influence, where we were born, when we were born, and then the gifts we've been given, those talents we've been given, no matter if it's 1, 5, or 10, we all have our own, and we're responsible to
Mm.
develop them so that they give a gift to the world. We all have a place in this world. And when we are developing our own talents, it's not really just about us being fulfilled, which we will be, but it's about how we share in in the gift of the whole world. Like we all have, if we all bring our stuff, our gift to the world, it's like this beautiful tapestry that we're a part of.
Oh,
And so
beautifully
I
said.
always think of that story, and I remember, if I only have one talent, that's okay, as long as I develop that one to its fullest and I do the most with it that I can. And when I'm at the end of my life looking back, I want to be able to say I did what I was created to do, and I gave it my all. And look at what I'm leaving, here. Look at what I have sown in the world and impacted other people with. So that's that activation part, the acceptance and activation. You begin to really see, well, what was I created to do in the world? And you begin to do it, put it into
Sharing
action,
it.
sharing
Sharing
it. Yeah.
it. Yeah. And
And
now the R.
the R is that place of walking out on the center stage, like you have come to this full place of being released. R is for release. And I
Oh,
remember
wonderful.
one time in church, this guy said to me, I went up for prayer for something, and he goes, the minister said, he just looked at me and he goes, "You draw from the river inside, don't you?" And I was like, huh, I had never thought of that before. But since
Hmm.
then, I've thought a lot about that. Our spirit is like this river of life. And when you have released it, and you've released all the things that aren't you, and you've walked in this fullness, then you are releasing a river out just freely. There's this flow, there's this effortless to it. So it's that walking out on the center stage as you, and you're just releasing who you are through what you do. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Oh, it's fun. And
Yeah.
that's fun is number one. And that's what
Fun is number one.
we got to strive for fun. And that's all there is to it.
Well, there's nothing better than just being you and being who you are, and letting it be expressed in the ways that are natural and powerful for you. And that's fun. It is
It is
fun.
fun. Absolutely. I was talking to somebody today and they said, it's a lot of work doing a podcast. And I said, why? It's fun. As long as you're having fun, it's not work.
Right. I mean, you're working, but it doesn't feel like work. It's
Exactly. Exactly.
fun to
Oh,
be.
thank you so much. So, how can people get in touch with you? And did I hear that you had something to share with our audience?
Absolutely. It's just brand new, hot off the press, a new free mini course. I call it Be Confident, Be Real, Be You.
Ooh.
And it is 3 videos with action guides that go with it. So it walks them through this process. It's really just the beginning of the process, because in 3 videos, you won't do the entire work, but it gets you started. So we talk about ditching the imposter syndrome, and that video and those action guides that go with it will help you to identify your imposter stories. What is the
Mhm.
imposter syndrome? Do I have it? It's not really a syndrome. It's just a thought process. And then learning how to reframe that and coming up with your definition of success, because often imposterism comes from trying to live up to somebody else's definition of what success should look like. And then you go into discovering the best real you. So we start digging into, being authentic to who you are and discovering who you truly are. And then the last one, I walk you through, it's really kind of the finishing of discovering the best real you, where it's called, Will a Real You Please Stand Up? And you do this exercise at the end where you come up with this gorgeous visual. It's a vision board of the real you after you go through the exercises I give you. And that becomes your new message, because it is you. It describes who you are. And it is such a powerful exercise. I use it a lot and I teach it a lot. And it has made a huge difference in my life. So I have this vision board that describes who I truly am from doing these exercises. And I was so surprised to find and to hear all these words describing who I am. And then on the back, I wrote a third person description. And some of the words that came out were a tenacious and passionate trailblazer. And I was like,
Ooh, yeah, that's you. That's you, girl.
Yeah, and I had never thought of myself that way. And I was like, I think I am that. And I began to own it. And when you begin to own that, it's based on truth. It's not based on some made up story of who you are.
Yeah.
It's based on truth of who you are. And then you can begin to embrace it and own it. And you'll find that the imposter stories melt away.
Mm-hmm.
And you begin to have this authentic, like fearless confidence, like, this is who I am. And I love it. I love who I am. And that's what I feel like is the best way to come to being confident. You can try to be confident doing outer things, but unless you really discover who you truly are, you won't truly be authentically confident, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. So how can people get this?
Get
This is
that.
an amazing gift. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. They can go to my website. It's actually right on the homepage of my website, which is emerginglifecoaching.com, EMERGING life coaching. And if you, it's right there on the front page, but you can also, do a slash and do be confident with a hyphen, be hyphen confident hyphen course. Yeah. Be confident course. So that's how they can find it, and they just sign up and it'll start coming to them through email, one video at a time.
Wonderful. Oh,
Yeah.
Janelle, that is great. And before we end, is there any last words that you would like to share?
Well, I think I would just like to say that to everyone listening, that you are truly amazing. You truly are great. You have greatness inside of you. And so I just encourage you to do the work. Don't be afraid to do the work. It's worth it. And to go ahead and, stand up, step up, speak up, be you, be fearless, and be confident.
Perfect message. Absolutely perfect. And it's so true. The more people we can have being confident in their own right, with kindness, with authenticity, the better the world will be.
Yes, so incredibly true.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Janelle, so much. Janelle Anderson. It has been a total pleasure, and I really appreciate you joining me today. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I have thoroughly enjoyed it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.